Anonymous PL/SQL blocks are the foundation for programming with Oracle databases. They are very useful when you need to do complex statements that would be difficult to achieve with traditional SQL. Let's take a simple example. Suppose I was tasked with writing a report that showed me the count of all products that had a discount of less than 10%, those that had a discount of 10 to 30%, and then those that had a discount of greater than 30%. The traditional SQL way would be to write 3 separate queries, one for each condition, and then combine those 3 into a final result. Not too difficult, but consider if you had a much more complex requirement where you had to do a lot more select statements. Let's look at how we could use PL/SQL to create that using a program versus SQL statements. Now, PL/SQL is based on SQL, so you will see a lot of familiar syntax going on. The first stage in creating an anonymous PL/SQL block is to declare any variables that we're going to use. Now, variables are temporary storage locations that we can use to hold values. Variables are defined using the same data types that we use in SQL. So in this example, I want to get a count based on 3 different conditions. So I will just declare my variables to all be numbers. The first condition I wanted to look at was the count of items with less than 10% discount. So I will use string, so it's got to be all letters and numbers. It should start with the letter. Everything must be touching. I can't have spaces in it. So I'll just do less than 10 is a number. And follow that with a semicolon to say that's the end of my line here. So I'm defining less than 10. And my next variable will be between 10 and 30. That's also a number. And my final one will be over 30. And that's a number. So I've now declared that I'm going to use 3 variables. Then I create my cursor. And what a cursor is a view of a table. So a table being a physical table or a table that we've materialized through an SQL select statement, using views, however you want to get that data out of the database and present it, that is what a cursor is. So we simply say cursor and give it a name. So I'm going to call this one all products is, so the cursor all products is, and then we simply write our SQL statement. And in this case, it'll be simply select star from products. So this query, select star from products, will be stored in this cursor. And when I have this cursor, I can then go through the cursor using programming to find what I'm looking for. To start this, I use the begin statement, and begin means this is the beginning of my programming. And of course, when we're done, we're going to have an end statement. I put this \n to execute it. So in here, within my begin and end, is where I will put all my programming. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to initialize my variable. So my less than 10 is going to be set to 0. My between 10 and 30 variable, I'm going to also set that to 0. And my over 30 will be set to 0. Now this colon equals is how we do an assignment operator in Oracle's PL/SQL. It's very different than the single equal or double equals that you might have seen in other programming languages. this is a colon equals for assignment. So the first thing I've done is I have set all three of my variables to 0, and then I need to loop through the products table, and I can't directly access the table here. I have to go through this cursor, the all products cursor, in order to get to the data. So there's many ways I can go through that. In this example, I'm going to loop through it using what's called a for loop. A for loop goes through from the beginning to end of my cursor, and it pulls out each row into a variable. I don't have to declare this variable in advance. I can declare this variable locally within my for statement. So I'm going to call this product. So for my product that is in my cursor all products, I want to loop. So this is my for loop. And of course, when we're done, we have to end our loop. So I'm just putting my end loops in now so I don't forget about them later. So within my for loop, I'm going to loop through. This loop happens, it's an iterative process. It starts at the beginning and pulls the next record one at a time so I can look at the detail in each record. Now, each record as it's pulled out is going to be stored in this product variable. And I can access the fields using the dot notation. So I can actually look at product dot list price to get the list price, or product dot discount percent to get the discount percent. So I'm interested in the discount percents. So I want to know if my product dot discount percent is less than 10. So going back, product is a variable that points to a record or a row in my all products cursor. My all products cursor is defined as the select statement select star from products. Because of that, this product variable will have access to every field that is part of that cursor. So I can access the discount percent for each row using this product variable, and this dot in between says within that product I want to look at the discount percent field. So if that is less than 10, then I want to do something. What I want to do is say my less than 10 variable is equal, in this case with PLSQL, equal, the assignment operator is a colon equal sign. So less than 10 is equal to less than 10. What is it currently? Plus 1. So if it starts out with 0, it'll go to 1, and then 1 goes to 2, 2 goes to 3. So we're just adding 1 to my less than 10 variable if the discount percent is less than 10. So if it's not less than 10, if it's something else, we can do an else statement. Now in this case, we want to say if it's not less than 10, else if, and we actually get rid of the E, so it's ELSIF. It's a little awkward, but just remember it's ELSIF instead of else if. So our else if product.discount percent, now we want to say is between the two. Now a little trick here with an if then else statement. If it matches here, if it's, let's say, discount percent of 2 and it matches this statement, it does not process the rest of these if statements. So the rest of my else ifs do not process. So I can use that to my advantage and just simply say if it's less than 10, increment my less than 10 variable. Otherwise, is it less than or equal to 30? All right. Then I can increment my between 10 and 30. And then finally, else, this is our end no matter what. If it doesn't match less than 10, it doesn't match less than or equal to 30, the final thing I just do, I don't need a then at this point because it's just an else. I will set my over 30 to be equal to over 30 plus 1, and I will have my end if statement. So walking through this again, the first time it goes through, it's going to set my less than 10 variable to 0, my between 10 and 30 to 0, and my over 30 to 0. So I have zeroed out all my variables, or all my counters. I will then loop with this for loop through my all products cursor, and all products is defined as select star from products. So I'm going to go through one at a time, looping through that result set, and store each row in the product variable. I will then look at each of those individually and say if the product discount percent is less than 10. So for example, down here, this very first row is going to look at this and say, is discount percent less than 10? No, it's not. Else if, is discount percent less than or equal to 30? Well, yes it is. So it's going to increment between 10 and 30 plus 1 to that, and it's going to stop. So if I hit here, it does not process any other statement. So it only does one of these three things. So down here, discount percent of 0. Let's look at this one. So if my product, and I'm on this row here, and the discount percent is less than 10 in this case because it's 0, my less than 10 will equal less than 10 plus 1. Even though it's also less than 30, it's not going to run this. It's going to hit here and break out of this if statement and move on to the next one. So great, we've now set our three variables. We want to show some results on the screen to print out what our results were. And the way we're going to do this here is we're going to print it out as an output statement. So dbms of output. So this is our built-in function to output to the screen. We want to put line. And put line is simply print this out on the screen. And I will say there are, and I put my strings within these single quotes. So this is a string I'm going to print, the words there are with the space. And then I'm going to append or concatenate together my variable less than 10. And I'm going to then concatenate more text, which would be products with a discount less than 10%, period, in my parenthesis and my semicolon. Now I'm going to do this 3 times, so I'm going to copy this and paste it. And my variables less than 10, between 10 and 30, and over 30. I'm just cutting and pasting my variables so I don't have to type them. With a discount between 10% and 30%, and this last one is going to be over 30%. And then our end is here. So let's go ahead and run this and see what happens, and hopefully it works. If not, we will debug it. Alright, so I have one error that popped up that says on line 13 I have an identifier over 30 or 30 that must be declared. So that means on line 13 I have a typo. So I start up here at the top, 13 right here, and I definitely have 30 spelled wrong. So that's a typo. It's very specific here. It'll tell you exactly what line and what column, so it tells you exactly where the error is. So I'm going to go ahead and run this again, see if there's any more errors in my code. And there are not, and when it processes, there are 2 products less than 10, 6 products between 10 and 30, and 3 products over 30. And that's it. That's how you create an anonymous block of PLSQL code. Very easy to do this, not that much programming. This is really the amount of programming we have, and this is just to display our output nicely. Imagine if you had to do this with just SQL statements. Again, you'd be writing at least 3 selects, combine them together, and then to format the output would take a lot of work. This is something you can create once, and then we'll learn how to save these as functions to be able to call them up later as necessary. Now, this sample here is much more complex than your programming assignment for the week. So part 3, you're going to use something very similar to this. You're going to write a anonymous PLSQL that counts all the products. So I'm looking at products and counting different buckets depending upon the discount percent. You're not going to have any of these if statements. You're just going to basically create a counter, count the products, and at the very end you'll have an if statement that says if your total counter is greater than or equal to 7, print one thing, otherwise print something else. So it's pretty easy. The homework assignment this week, fix the SQL. I have, I think, 3 or 4 typos that you'll have to fix. Just look at these examples and should jump out fairly obviously. You can start by cutting and pasting and running the sample from the homework and look at the errors that will kind of point you to exactly where they are. You'll get that working and just give me the output. And that's it. So hopefully this clears up a little bit about PLSQL, and good luck programming.